So I've been in Poland for a year now, and I wanted to talk about my experience, all of the things that surprised me, the things that I love about this country, but also some of the things that I don't like. So let's first talk about the things that surprised me after being here. Before coming to Poland, honestly, I didn't know too much about the country. I heard the stereotype that Poles were very cold, not the nicest, and very racist, and I can see where all that comes from, and I'll talk about the racism in a little bit. Poles are awesome because even though at first they may be quite cold, once they know you and they open up to you, they're actually very warm, very friendly, and Polish hospitality is some of the best in the world. I actually prefer it this way because when I was in Colombia, everybody was extremely friendly, but you could never trust anybody. Whereas here in Poland, people are not that friendly, but once you make a Polish friend, they're very kind, they're very honest, and they're just nice, humble people. They say that if you make friends with a Polish person, you have a friend for life. And I noticed that because Polish people are extremely loyal to their country, to their family, and to their friends, often to a fault. I really appreciate how Polish people are very smart and intelligent. In America, it feels like we treat our citizens like babies, whereas here in Poland, it's kind of the opposite. It's expected that you have like a base layer of common sense. You're expected to know how to handle yourself in situations, how to behave. And I actually like that because it puts responsibility on the individuals to act like a normal human being instead of, the police or the government telling us exactly how we should act. I heard Poland was an extremely Catholic country. There seems to be a divide right now between the older generation and the younger generation, but I would say most Polish people that I met are not religious at all. They maybe grew up going to mass and stuff, and they have a lot of those Catholic values that are still here in society, but I would say most Polish people now are not really religious. I have been very impressed by the value that you get for being here in Poland, right? It is relatively cheap compared to Western European countries. And I know a lot of Poles hate when foreigners say this because things are not cheap for Poles. But as an American, my dollar goes a lot further here. And for what I get, for a good quality of life, for good public transportation, for safety, for cheap groceries, I feel like it's a very good value exchange. Everybody talks about Polish women and how beautiful they are, and yes, that is true. But what surprised me about them is how easygoing and quite chill that they are. Obviously, you can't generalize about a whole entire country, but from my experience, Polish girls have been very easy to get along with. A lot of them played video games growing up, so you can actually play video games with them, which I love. Because many of them grew up in nuclear families, what they look for in relationship usually is a man who knows how to treat them well, emotionally stable, loyal. Like all the things about income and height are not as important as places like America. There's surprisingly good Asian food here. Every city has like their own little diaspora. Here in Krakow, the Vietnamese and the Indian food are very good. But if you go to Wrocław, there's a lot of Koreans there, so the Korean food is quite good. Obviously in Warsaw, because it's a capital, you have everything there. But it's nice seeing that the international cuisine is slowly developing. Coming from Colombia, where there was barely any Asian food, it's nice being able to get access to the food and even get access to Asian ingredients. Another thing is that for all the reputation that Poland has for being like racist and anti-foreigner, there's actually a surprising number of foreigners here. It depends based on the city, but obviously there's a lot of Asians here, a lot of Turkish people here. I've seen a lot of Indians, and I've also seen a lot of Africans. I think we all get treated differently and we have different stereotypes. Poland is actually very welcoming to foreigners if you respect their culture, and especially if you take the time to learn their language and you attempt to speak Polish, Polish people will welcome you with open arms. And I find that here in Poland, there's a distinction between legal immigration and illegal immigration. In the conversation with other countries, those two things seem to get lumped together. But here in Poland, if you're here legally, you're paying your taxes, following the rules, you won't have any problems. Poland has such a rich history. There's a reason why the people here are so patriotic. Over the last few hundred years, this country has gone through so much, through war. Everybody has tried to invade them, and they've always found a way to overcome their situation and unite and fight off invaders. And it's very inspiring in a lot of ways, and that's why the Polish pride for country is so strong. There's a lot of people alive now that were alive during the communist times. America is a very young country, and we don't have the same history as other places in the world because we were a country founded by immigrants, right? Whereas here in Poland, it was a bunch of different tribes that came together under one flag. And even now, if you go up to Pomerania, if you go to Silesia, if you go to the eastern part of Poland, they're all so different because they have different cultural roots, but they're all united by one language and one flag. I also really love Polish music. I've gotten the opportunity to listen to it and be able to make videos about it. I think the rap is slowly getting there. I think the rock and the pop is actually really good. Meski Granie orchestra concept is amazing. My favorite song right now is Tam Swansea Gijime. I'm actually planning on moving to Warsaw sometime next year, maybe like March or June or something like that. Now that my music videos are doing really well, I actually want to get into the music industry. I want to be able to perform with other Polish artists, or maybe produce, or maybe be a judge on The Voice or something like that. Those are all options that I'm considering. If you guys want to collab on music, or if in Warsaw or Krakow there are any performing opportunities, please reach out to me and I would love to perform. I also love how diverse the country is and how every city has their own vibe. I love Krakow because it was the first city that I went to. I think it has a perfect balance of city and nature, and you still feel like you're in a small city. But Wrocław has beautiful architecture. I think Wrocław actually has the nicest old town out of all the cities I've been to. But then you go up to Gdańsk and it has like a Scandinavian influence in the buildings, and the weather is very nice. The women in the Tri-City area are really beautiful. I love the Gdynia as well. Gdynia is really nice. But then you go to Warsaw and it's a very cosmopolitan city, and it has a very different feel than the rest of the country. And there's still a bunch of cities that I haven't seen yet that I want to, like Poznan, Lublin, Łódź. I still need to go to Katowice as well. So I'm really excited to discover a lot more of the country. Polish food is surprisingly very good. Over time, I've really learned to love it. I love the soups. I think żurek is very good. I like bigos is really good with the bread. Ooh, I like the potato pancake. Pierogi is okay. I like the different salads that they have. Going to a bar mleczny is one of my favorite restaurants because you can get good cafeteria style Polish food. All right, so let's get into some of the controversial stuff. Let's get into some of the things that I don't like. So even though I do like that there are 4 seasons here, the weather can be quite unpredictable. You can have one week where it's extremely cold and windy, and then the next week it will be like super hot, especially in the transition months like August, September, and around March, April. Right now it's near the end of November and it snowed a couple of days ago. And it was beautiful, but now it's like really cold, so nobody really wants to go out. The weather can be a little bipolar sometimes. It's not like a major con, but it's something to keep in mind. Polish is notorious for being very difficult. This is a frustration that I have because I feel like I'm quite good at studying and learning languages. Most Polish people are supportive of the fact that I'm even attempting to learn Polish, but there's also like you saw in one of my recent videos where I was talking about why Polish language is so hard to learn. Polish people were like, oh, it's not the language's fault, it's your fault for not learning it well enough. Okay, well, I'm just giving my honest perspective as a foreigner why it's so difficult. And if the response is, well, get better, you need to study harder, that doesn't encourage people to want to learn the language more. This goes to like a bigger issue of Polish people are extremely protective of their culture to a fault. They're extremely sensitive to any form of criticism. Now, as a content creator, right? For me, it's very important that I give like an authentic analysis of a country. So that means talking about the pros and the cons. And it seems that in Poland, you get rewarded for only speaking good about the country, which is why there's a bunch of YouTubers taking advantage of this right now. They only speak good things about Poland. But when I talk badly about Poland, it comes from a good place because I really love this country and I want to see it improve. And sometimes it's received well, but a lot of times people will be like, well, if you don't like it, just get out of here. We can do what we want. And it's like, Polish people are so traumatized from their past that they want to protect everything Polish, even though I do think there are a lot of things that should be improved about the country in order to move forward. It seems like there's this weird duality where Polish people get super excited when foreigners talk about their country, but there's also a group of Poles that are like, no, we don't want any foreigners here. Poland is only for Poles. So because my channel is quite popular here, I've gotten both sides of the argument. It's been really interesting to see. And I think Polish people also have a chip on their shoulder for not being recognized by the rest of Europe. So they're like craving for anybody from anywhere in the world to say good things about their country. I think it's really boring if you only want to hear people speak good about their country. I think every country has their pros and cons. And I'm going to continue to be honest regardless of the backlash that I get because I believe it is important to say the truth. Also, the complaining thing is so real. Poles love to complain to the point where it's a little annoying. You know how like when you're in a relationship sometimes and then your girl starts complaining about her problems, but she doesn't want you to provide solutions. She just wants you to listen to her problems. That's exactly how I feel about Polish people sometimes. I don't mind it, but they have this weird double standard where Poles can complain about their country or they can complain about how hard the language is. But as soon as a foreigner says it, then all of of a sudden they all come after me and I'm not allowed to say that. The night scene here is not bad, but I'm not a big fan of the music that they play in clubs because I'm coming from US, right? I love hip hop and R&B, but here it's a lot of just like pop music or just like electronic music, which I find quite boring. And I also think that the infrastructure can be improved a little bit. I think the cross-city travel is okay, it's passable, but I think the train infrastructure can be improved a little bit. I wish there were a little more high-speed trains in between cities. I think the postal service here is actually really slow as well. I sent an item to my buddy who lives in Warsaw. It's only like 4 hours away by train, and I sent him the item like almost 2 weeks ago and it still hasn't arrived yet. But I don't think it's like that big of an issue. I want to briefly talk about the racism part. I would say for the most part, Poles are not racist, but there is a select demographic that are very openly and proudly racist. And I think every race gets treated differently. Asians, for the most part, were like the good allies, so we are treated quite well here. I have a lot of black friends from the Caribbean or from Africa, and they have been treated well as well. Muslims and Pakistanis get a lot of bad stereotypes thrown at them. I don't know if I want to say like black Americans as well, you know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a lot of open racism here in Poland, and I've seen it in my comment section as well. It's a very small minority for sure, but it does exist. Now I want to talk about the things that I really love about Poland. And number one, I love how Asians get treated really well here. Poland is a country of mutual respect. If I respect you, you respect me, we just mind our own business, right? Asians, our whole entire culture is founded on respecting your neighbor and respecting society and respecting others, right? Like we'll open a door, we'll bow at people. That is a trait that Poles welcome and also very much appreciate. So I think Asians and Polish people have a lot of cultural similarities. And I know a lot of Polish people that are very interested in Asian culture as well. So it seems to be like a really cool mix and exchange of cultures that we have going on. And Polish people also really love our food. I think my favorite part about Poland is that it's a very safe country. And I think there are a bunch of reasons for this. Number one, the fact that they are anti-illegal immigration and they don't take in a lot of asylum seekers. It's a sad reality, but it is the truth. Homogeneous societies tend to be safer. Just in the country, people just follow the rules. Polish men are taught from a young age that you never hit a woman. For example, you're on the train and a guy like raises his fist at a girl, the Polish men will stand up to defend her. And I love that this society still has values like that. I like that Poland values order. And this is a core part of my personality too. Especially the older that I get, I also really value order and keeping quiet and following the rules. And it seems like generally Polish people, even the young ones, do follow the rules. Something beautiful that I see is like if you go into public transportation, if an old lady walks in or a pregnant lady walks in, even the young people, they're the first ones to get up and let them sit, right? And I always thought that was a beautiful thing. I actually like the fact that we have 4 seasons here. Right now in November, sometimes it's really cloudy, but like if you look at today is actually a beautiful day, and it snowed yesterday and that was awesome to see. And I think every season has its own vibe, right? Like in Colombia, it's pretty much the same weather the whole year round. Growing up in Los Angeles, it's hot for most of the year. In Southeast Asia, it's just hot and humid all the time. So I like being able to see the changing of the seasons and the changing of the trees and the leaves. I like how Poland has a good balance of tradition and progressivism. Being an Asian person born in America, I feel like I also am like that. Like I'm conservative in some ways, but I'm socially liberal in a lot of ways. And here in Poland, that seems to be happening right now. Like compared to maybe some of the more Eastern European countries, like if you go to Ukraine or Russia, maybe they're a little more traditional. But here in Poland, it seems like they are traditional because they're grounded by their foundational values of being a Pole and their history, but also because a lot of them speak English, a lot of the Western values are coming in, but it's not totally woke yet. It's like a nice balance of both. I appreciate that Polish people are very direct in their communication styles. I'm like that as well. Like in America, I can do all the jokes and just the charming stuff, but I prefer to just be like, okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, and just be like upfront and direct. And this is something that I like about Slavic culture in general. I also love that there are żabkas at every corner. It comes in so clutch, so clutch. I like that in Poland, the family values are very strong and many people grew up with nuclear families and people here still value relationship a lot. It seems that in the West, like especially in America, if you look at our media and the values that we promote, nobody wants to be in a relationship anymore. It's all about hookup culture, sexual revolution, all that stuff. And a little bit of that is happening here in Poland too. But I would say that for the most part, people here are looking for a relationship, and a lot of the men treat their women well. It's like traditional feminism I've seen here, right? Where the women here are very strong and independent, but they still respect the role that the man plays, and they're looking for like a true partnership. Not like in the West where they want 50-50 when it matters, but they still want the men to pay for everything. I've gone on dates with girls where the women are open to paying for their own share, and they want it to be equal in every sense of the word. I also like that Poland is quite a stable country right now. It's grown a lot over the last 5 to 10 years, and I can see it continually to grow over the next few years. The economy is stable. We're not in a country at war, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Poland is in a very good spot right now. It's very exciting to see what's going to happen over the next few years. I'm just tired of moving around and trying other countries. I'm very happy here in Poland, and a lot of my international friends are very happy here as well. I highly recommend that you guys watch this video next. What do you think? Let me know down below. Peace.